Hey everyone, and welcome to Talk the Music Official. I'm Tracy, and I interview, review, react, and chat about new songs, new albums, and live shows. Today, I'm going to be joined by independent musician Louisa Rowley, who's joined me to chat all about her music and musical career so you can find out more about it. Today, I'm excited to welcome Louisa to Talk the Music to chat about her musical career. Louisa, welcome to Talk the Music. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, thank you for having me. I'm Louisa Rowley. I'm a blues soul musician from London. I write sort of retro, kind of 50s, 60s music, sort of about like more modern topics, stuff like anxiety, my autism, post adolescence. So it's kind of an old meets new kind of thing, but very much focusing on a older aesthetic with, yeah, some sort of 60s influences as well. So, yeah.
Everyone. So how would you describe your sound to someone for hearing your music your first time?
My go-to line is always to say Elvis meets Amy Winehouse because I'd say, yeah, you've got the sort of the bluesiness of Elvis, and all the people he sort of copied. Let's face it, copied. And you've got that kind of more soul influence of people like Amy Winehouse, and also the slightly more modern influence. So yeah, I'd say people who I'm quite similar to in terms of sound would be like Steven Sanchez, Bonnie Raitt, that kind of thing. It's not pure blues, it's blues with a bit of soul, a bit of funk, occasionally a little bit of jazz in. It's kind of this blending that I would just put under a umbrella of blues, soul, jazz. But yeah, the lyrics tend to be a lot more sort of focused on modern issues, quite personal issues, mental health, neurodivergence, post-adolescence, that kind of thing. So that's how I would probably... But yeah, Elvis meets Amy Winehouse is just like my go-to line.
Which of your songs best represents you as an artist and why?
Ooh, that's very hard to say. Can it be something that I've written that's not released yet, or do you want something that's released?
Whatever you want, go for it.
Well, I'll be as quick as I can, but I'll do two. So I'll say there's one I'm writing at the moment called Autistic Burnout Blues, and I'd say that's probably the most me a song has felt because it is kind of just a bit of everything. Like it's a bit of blues, it's a little bit progressive, it's probably going to be a bit of a longer song than like a typical like pop song that I would normally follow. Like it's got a little bit of funk and soul in, it's got kind of a bit of everything in, it goes all over the place, it doesn't stick to one time signature. And it's kind of interesting because I wouldn't consider myself a prog artist at all, and I don't really listen to progressive music at all. But I think because I feel like such a sort of person who's all over the place and who's scatty, that song I think I'd say very represents me at the moment. I'd say in terms of what I've released, I've got a song called Move On, and it's very, I call it like blues meets funk because it's following kind of a chord structure of a typical blues song, of very much like that 1-4-5, but the lyrics and the sort of the composition is much more funky, and that's kind of what I like. I like kind of blending blues with a few other different styles to get kind of this funk soul. I guess you could probably say it's an overarching soul song, but yeah, I think that very much that kind of, that quite fun bass line, that represents me quite well.
And how has your sound evolved since you first started making music?
So it definitely has evolved quite a bit. So when I first started writing music, I hadn't really found my sound yet. So I mostly just wrote at a piano, and like I would say the first song I ever wrote took me like 3 hours to write. Like three, and it no, not 3 hours to write it. It took me 3 hours to write 3 bars. So like that's how like not naturally it came to me, like sitting at a piano and like actually getting chords out and stuff. And all I really knew was like I kind of liked Amy Winehouse. I liked how raw Lana Del Rey was, and then when I started going on the ukulele more rather than on the piano, I got very into the sort of bluesy kind of 1-4-5. Partly because I just wasn't that good a writer yet, so I kind of liked that I had a chord sequence already done for me, and I could just write the lyrics, which I felt like I was always stronger at. So I'd say early me was very sort of acoustic, very simple blues, very blues though, because it wasn't blues in the sense there was a lot of guitar riffs and this and that, but it was just me going around on 1-4-5 chords on a ukulele. So I'd say now I do try to incorporate more styles and genres. When I first started writing, I didn't know any other musicians. I was just like, I was 18 when I started writing. I just finished sixth form. I was working in a shop. I didn't even know any musicians. I mean, I knew a couple of people who like were in musical theatre and stuff like that, but I didn't know people who were like actively writing and playing. now I've obviously grown my network and stuff, I'd say a lot more of the stuff I write, I have more of a method and whatnot, and yeah, I tend to sort of think more of other artists when I'm writing, so I'll be like, oh, I really think that like this bassist I know would do like a really good bass line for this kind of idea, so like I'm going to reach out to them, or like, whereas before I would just be like, oh, I don't know what to do, I'm just going to play on the ukulele again. So yeah, it's more my style, it's evolved not just like in terms of genre, where we're merging sort of blues with other styles as well, but it's also just evolved in like how I write as well, so it's evolved basically in every way, I would say.
Cool. And where do you find your inspiration from for your songs?
So I'd say a lot of them come from personal experiences, lyrically particularly. I'm really into at the moment with this new stuff I'm writing that's not being released yet, that probably won't come out to next year. I'm really into the idea of having very unique song titles that you can sort of think, oh, that's that artist. So I'd say like lyrics and song titles and vocal melodies are a really good inspiration, but also like a lot of the time I'll listen to artists I like just because, like everyone, I like listening to music, and so like I'll listen to something and I'll be like, oh, I really like the style they've gone for. Oh, I like that they've incorporated a bit of country into this, or like, oh, I really like the way they've done that vocal melody. So I'd say listening to other artists definitely has a big influence, which I'm sure all musicians would say for them. So yeah, but for me it's like a mixture of like personal experience, if there's any kind of genre I want to explore, but also like stuff I like from other songs that I've heard.
And can you walk us through your songwriting process?
Yeah, so I'd say at the moment I almost always start with a vocal melody. It's normally like a couple of lyrics will come into my head with a specific melody, and I'll always like immediately just get my phone and record that just so that I have that. And then whenever I have the chance, I'll start like growing on that a bit. So normally like I'll probably have been thinking about a concept I want to write about anyway, and like I'd have been like mulling it over in my mind. And so yeah, then the vocal melody comes, and then I slowly start building the lyrics. Normally after that I start trying to build a structure of the song. I mean, some songs I write at the moment, I would say I write the vocal melody and the whole song before I put any other bit of music down, before I put any chords, anything. It's just vocal melody and nothing else. So it does end up sometimes evolving quite a bit, because sometimes I'll end up singing it and be like, oh, actually it's way better with these chords in this key and stuff. But yeah, that's normally then when I try to, once I've got a chance to sit down, I try to go to a piano or a ukulele and work out what chords are underneath. And then sometimes that will mean I'm adjusting stuff, so I'll go, actually this structure's gone way too quickly, or like, actually I need to do something really weird here. And I'd say at the moment I'm writing a lot with the band that I perform with in London. Like, they're my great backing band. We call them the Rowlettes. Like, they're fabulous guys. Yeah, it's a great name. And yeah, so at the moment, because they are such talented instrumentalists, and like I'm really not skilled on instruments, I'd say like top lines and vocal melodies and lyrics is more my strength. I tend to go to them and say, oh, I kind of like the idea of something around this chord sequence, or like, oh, this is what I think could be cool for like a general idea of a bass line, like, can you do your thing with it? And then I'll let them like work on it, and then it's great when we're all in the room together and we can just go over it, and then that's when it tends to become more of a full-fledged song. And like, it's only really, I'd say at the moment, particularly with like all the new stuff we're writing, is when we're playing together, is when we get more of an idea, like, oh, this will be really cool for like the arrangement and stuff. Because yeah, like the last producer I was working with, we tended to do a lot more stuff solo, so I would just write sort of the basic ideas, again kind of similar vocal melody chord sequence, and I'd go to the producer and he'd work out different parts there on the different instruments, and we'd still have like references and point of call, but it would be much more like just the two of us, whereas now it's more like a band effort where like we go and we sort of work it out together, and this is what I like, and also just seeing like what we're feeling in the moment as well and what comes out, so it's kind of a bit of everything.
Most challenging part of bringing a song from idea to release?
Oh, I'd say, I mean, logistically, I would say for independent artists, it's time and money. Those are the two big things, because I would say has famously said, you know, working on good art takes time. And so, you know, working on stuff that is good takes a lot of time. I think also it can be, you know, sometimes you have a very specific idea of how you want it to sound in your head, and you'll be working out these different bits and it's like, oh, why doesn't it sound that way? Why doesn't it sound exactly like I thought? Like, especially for me, with instruments, like I'll have this very specific idea for what I think the instrument should sound like, and I'll go to play it and I'll be like, oh, I'm not playing that how I thought I would, or like I don't think that sounds quite the same. And so I think I think it's going to vary from artist to artist, but in my experience, outside of the logistics of the time and the money constraint and the, you know, just the thing of getting people together, I would say it's sort of trying to hone the expectations of what you have in your mind to what it's actually going to sound like, and having that be realistic.
I get that.
Yeah.
What are the biggest challenges you've faced as an independent artist?
Oh, I would say again, logistics, time, money. That's always a challenge. I would say, I think for me, one of the big things is like I have suffered with anxiety my whole life, and I would say that has often held me back a bit. Like sort of being too nervous to reach out when I could have, to sort of commit when I could have. I'd say I've definitely overcome that a lot more now, like because I'm so passionate about the music. I feel like I tend to not worry too much about like, oh, I'm gonna reach out, worst I can say is no. But I think that for a long time did hold me back. I mean, I had in 2022 in the summer, I had a nervous breakdown, and I was, again, I've had anxiety my whole life, but that very much felt like something different. And I think what was different about that is for the first time I was like, I don't want anyone to listen to my music, I don't want to be seen, I don't want to be perceived. And so I think trying to overcome that mental barrier of like, oh, I'm going to release music, but nobody listen to it, please, and don't look at me. That was definitely hard. See, I'd say anxiety, I think, which I think like that's not exclusive to me as someone that has chronic anxiety. That's something a lot of artists without chronic anxiety are going to experience. It's that fear of like, of putting yourself out there creatively and being like, hope this works. But honestly, I think once you start to not care, it's like so liberating.
What advice would you give to other independent musicians just starting out?
I would say, sort of following on from the last question, the worst they can say is no. I'd also say give yourself the chance to be bad and to be cringy. Like I cringe so much when I look back. Even some of the stuff I released like a year ago, I look back and I'm like, that's shit now, like I hate that, like, but like I needed to release it at the time because at the time that was what I felt was like the best I could do. And so like it's okay to write stuff and be like, I'm not super keen on that, like no one cares that much, like. And so I would say just to give yourself the chance to be bad and release it anyway, because the more you release, the more you're going to learn. The more I release stuff, I feel like I learn something new every time I write a new song, every time I release a new song. And so, and like, there is nothing wrong with being a little bit cringy on social media. Like, let your real personality shine through a bit. That I think are the biggest things. I think particularly now where like so many artists are DIY artists, like a lot of artists are trying to do it themselves, and social media is like such a bigger part of it. Like, put it on TikTok. Like the worst, like one person comments a bad thing, you can just block and delete the comment, and it will not affect your life. Mm-hmm.
So what's next for you?
Oh, so yeah, new music, definitely. Definitely, I think the music I'm writing now has a much more like experimental vibe to it. Not experimental, like sort of Ray level of experimental, where like I'm not necessarily always sticking to like a conventional pop song structure like I have, which is quite odd for a blues artist to be like, oh, I stick to a pop song structure, but that's just what I have done. Yeah, sort of exploring. My first EP was very much exploring anxiety, and then halfway through writing the EP I got diagnosed with autism, and so the whole thing was kind of this journey. This one, I would say it's more like a collation and a compilation that we're working on, and I'm speaking about it like it's going to come out next week. We're in the process of writing it. It's probably, I think the first single will probably come out like January, February next year, probably like autumn next year release. And so it's much more focusing on like being in your mid-20s, kind of post-adolescence. There is still very much like a neurodivergent perspective there, but there is also, I think, sort of stuff that a lot of people in their mid-20s go through, like it's exploring like the media and representation and AI and like, but also just like what you're personally going through and stuff, and like sort of feeling like, you're trying to find your place in the world, sort of being, all that kind of stuff. And also I've set myself a goal last year that within the next 5 years I want to be the UK's Eurovision entrant. So yeah, at the moment this week we're finishing off the recording for a song that we're submitting for Eurovision to the BBC. So yeah, and I think the song will be finished by mid-July to then submit. And regardless of where, I would love for it if it gets picked this year. Oh my god, amazing! Even if it doesn't get picked this year, it will still go on my next EP because like we're actually really excited about the song. It's like a really cool song. It's got like it's all live instrumentation, which like I've never done in a song before, and so yeah, no, it's absolutely yeah, it's really cool. But yeah, I would say like immediate future, it's like the next EP, more more kind of music. The next 5 years, the 5-year plan is Eurovision at one point or another.
Hope to following your journey.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I hope people like see it and follow along because also I'd love to take like blues and soul music does not get represented on the Eurovision stage that much. So taking something with a bit more soul to it, a bit more blues would be like so cool.
Yeah, a massive thank you to Louisa for joining me on Totally Music. If anyone would like to check out her music, I'll leave all the links in the description below for you. Thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun and you're lovely. So that's good.
Thank you for joining me to chat with Louisa Rowley. I hope you enjoyed finding out more about her music. Why not leave a comment below to let her know that you're a new fan? And if you would like to discover some more incredible independent musicians, then please hit my subscribe button so you don't miss the next video I post. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.